Another example that all of these DC boys have got some serious mommy problems. Aquaman! Released in 2018 and is directed by James Wan, who has also directed such films like Saw, Dead Silence, Insidious, The Conjuring 2, and Furious 7. That's right, the horror guy that had a little taste of action with the Fast and Furious franchise directed this movie that became the highest grossing DCEU solo film out of the whole DCEU, even surpassing The Dark Knight Rises. It's frickin' Aquaman! How did that happen? And this film is starring Jason Momoa, Amber Heard, Patrick Wilson, Willem Dafoe, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, and Nicole Kidman. And the reason why I'm reviewing Aquaman is because it's my birthday week. Actually, the day after this review is released, it is going to be my birthday. And I thought, I want to do something that I want to do, because later on this week, HBO Max is releasing something that I've been wanting to see for 6 years, and that is the original version, Zack Snyder's Justice League, in all of its extended hour glory. So I have every intention to watch it on Thursday and then release my review on Friday. So it's going to be a lot of work I'm going to have to do that night. But until then, I wanted to talk about some DCEU films that I actually really enjoyed, starting off with Aquaman. After the defeat of Steppenwolf in Justice League, Aquaman now roams the seas, protecting the sea life and fighting against evil pirates. But deeper in the ocean, more trouble's a-brewin', because Aquaman's half-brother Orm is looking to unite the 7 sea kingdoms and get their revenge on the surface life for all of the pollution and damage that we have done to their seas. So Aquaman gets the call from very stunning and beautiful redhead Mera to come to Atlantis for the first time, meet his half-brother, challenge him to a duel, and take his throne. However, to ensure victory, Aquaman must first search for the lost trident of Atlan, which takes us on a fun, romping adventure all through the 7 seas and the Sahara Desert, because according to them, the Sahara used to be just all ocean, and then it wasn't. So, I don't know if that's an actual scientific thing, or if that's just something for story purposes here. I'm going with the latter, but I'm not a scientist or a historian or an archaeologist or anything. I'm really not anything. So what do I know? I just review movies here on YouTube. I mean, what does my opinion hold? But it doesn't matter, because I really like talking about this movie. Aquaman is one of the DCEU films that I find myself getting the urge to go back and watch every once in a while. It was released in 2018. It was the first movie out of the gate from the theatrical release of Justice League, which was, it did fine at the box office. I think it made a little bit of money, but it was nowhere near the box office draw that everyone was hoping and thought it should be, and it should have deserved to be. Just a lot of people had problems with the cut and paste type re-editing and directing from Josh Whedon. So this one was the first one out of the gate where all of us were like, okay, DC, where are you going? Where's your direction? Where are we headed here? And I gotta say, when I watched it, I was very pleased and very excited as to where this universe was going to go. We had a fresh new director who really stood his ground when it came to studio interference and talks from the executive producers, especially from the DC studio side of Warner Brothers. James Wan said, if I'm gonna stick around and do this, I'm directing it my way, let me do my movie. And they did, and I loved what we got here. And a lot of it is from the direction of James Wan. It's what I like about this movie. And in particular, it's the first thing that has to be said about this film. The visual effects here are breathtaking. They are amazing. They are things that I never thought I would see on screen. An entire world underwater, people talking underwater, conversing, having very intense dialogue and love scenes underwater. All of it looked real to me. I know there are always DCEU haters out there that when they watch this movie, they go, oh, that shark doesn't look real. That seahorse doesn't look real. Looks fake. Yes, they were. This movie's called Aquaman. People are talking underwater. We are land-based creatures. Our technology is land-based. There's no way that we can get great footage of sharks actually doing what we want them to do. What do you people want? I've been hearing DC criticism ever since Man of Steel's release, so I'm used to it and I just brush it off and I go about my day because I love this movie. And the fact that this visual effects studio didn't even receive a nomination for Best Visual Effects in a film at that year's Academy Awards it's a shame. It's a crock of shit. You can make an argument that yes, maybe it didn't deserve to win, whatever, but you have to acknowledge the technology that was being used here and how this is a great stepping off point and jumping off point for other studios and other films to develop that technology even more to where we get even more realistic. Which is why I love that this movie came out before the 50 Avatar sequels that we're supposed to be getting, because I think Avatar 2 at least is supposed to take place underwater, the underwater world of Pandora, if we're ever going to get those movies. Probably not. I know they say they're filming, but they say they've been filming for like 15 years. So don't come at me. And kudos also have to go to Jason Momoa. He has brought this character, Aquaman, into the 21st century to where people think he's a credible person to be on the Justice League. He is a credible superhero. Back in the 70s and the 80s, you look at the old Super Friends cartoons. Whenever Aquaman would show up, it all had to do with, hey, there's a problem in the ocean. Could you turn on that switch, or could you save that vehicle that has sunk? Thanks, Aquaman. Now we're gonna go off and do the real stuff. Aquaman was a joke. You had Batman, who had all this cool technology and awesome villains. Wonder Woman with awesome strength, heroic personality, a kick-ass sword. Superman, it has all the powers in the world. He can shoot laser beams from his eyes. Here's Aquaman. He can swim fast and talk to sea creatures. Yay. And that's why we never got an Aquaman movie until 2018. Because you put that character on screen, in particular the styling and the way that he was drawn back then, he would not have connected with the audiences as much as Jason Momoa does today. Jason Momoa is just cool. And I don't know why he's so cool. He's so lovable. He stands up for what's right. He's done a bunch of protests over in Hawaii. I believe they were going to build a telescope or something on top of a very sacred land, and he took part in the protest out there. He's been supporting Zack Snyder for his cut to be released ever since the whole theatrical version was released. He's a very stand-up and cool guy. I've never heard anyone say anything terrible about him. And here he is wearing the orange top and the green bottoms, which is, I mean, if by Fab 5 qualifications, that is a terrible color combination and a terrible outfit. But Jason Momoa makes it look good and makes it look cool. Amber Heard is here playing Mera, and Mera is one of those characters from the comics that I've loved. I've actually read a lot of Aquaman in the last 5 or 6 years, particularly when they did the whole rebirth relaunch of the DC Comics universe, and how much power and authority that they've given to Mera. And Mera's journey in those comics, she's figuring out, okay, there's a prophecy that where I'm gonna kill Arthur, but I don't want to do that because I love him. He is my husband. He's my king. The point where she ascends to the throne and goes against traditions and things like that. I love her character. Amber Heard is one beautiful, attractive woman. Is she a good actress? I haven't seen that yet. A lot of the line delivery that she has here is very stiff and wooden, and hey, these are lines written down on the page, and I have to say it decisively. But I won't lie, I give it a pass, because whenever she's on screen, it's not a terrible screen to look at, let's put it that way. And then Patrick Wilson as Orm, who is a very interesting villain when you get into the Aquaman comics. And I love the stylistic choice of choosing Patrick Wilson against Jason Momoa's Aquaman. If you go back in the history of how Aquaman's been drawn, Patrick Wilson looks like Aquaman. Blonde hair, the pale white skin. He has the whole Aryan complexion, which is how Aquaman has been drawn for the last several decades. So to see him portray Orm going up against the current version of Jason Momoa's Aquaman, I think is a very interesting choice. And Orm is one of those villains where you can see his point of view. You see where he's coming from, and he's not 100% wrong in his passion for what he wants to do. It's universally known that we humans pollute the ocean and are terrible to ocean and sea life and just everything. We're terrible to this planet, actually, overall. So to have Orm talk about, we want to take back our planet. We want to rid the Earth of all of these surface dwellers and just have it be the ocean kingdoms. I get where he's coming from. I wish the movie would have done a better job of showing us all the terrible aspects of humans on land, surface humans, how terrible we are to the oceans. Yes, they have a couple of news reports and they talk about, oh yes, we're terrible, we pollute. We don't get to see a lot of that. So in terms of the connection between the audience and the purposes of Orm, it's a little lost here. In terms of the story, it's a very simple story. Very unlike things that we had seen previously in the DCEU, particularly with Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, and how philosophical those movies are, questioning yourself, questioning what the purpose that you're here, and questioning the side that you want to be on. Do I want to make these types of decisions to better myself? Do I want to better people? And if I want to better people, do I have to choose between certain groups of people? Very philosophical movies those Snyderverse films are. Here you don't get a lot of those philosophical questions. We have Arthur, we have Aquaman, who is just a good guy who wants to do the right thing and fight for what's right. And he's gonna do that. But in terms of the story, I do have to commend how feminine this movie is, and the storytelling device and the resolution of this film is. And I'm not trying to list this film under a gender norm or whatever. I'm just saying that there are very feminine qualities about this film. When you think of masculinity, you think of hard, you think of rigid, you think of anger and aggression. And when you look at Jason Momoa, I get a lot of masculine vibes coming from just the presence of that dude. From how that character is written and how this film is written, it is done from a very feminine perspective. Because a lot of the resolution with a lot of these mini objectives and mini conflicts in this film are done through talking and done through discussion between two people. Yes, there are times in this movie where there are discussions and conflicts trying to be resolved through fists, but nothing is really resolved through that. Just more problems are caused. Really, the true resolution to all of these conflicts in this movie are done through talking, done through empathy, done through trying to relate to your enemy. When Aquaman takes on the big giant sea monster, when he's just about to get the trident, he tries to fight her with fists, but what actually stops the whole fight? It's the fact that he can communicate and talk with the sea creature. Our second battle between Aquaman and Orm. How does it resolve with Orm being taken off and Aquaman saying, hey, when you're ready, let's talk. I love that. You don't typically see that in an action movie. Hell, even a superhero movie. You see, hey, this is the big climactic final battle. Let's fight, and I'm going to beat you to either your death or I'm going to beat you unconscious, and that means that I've won. When here, they're actually trying to settle the conflict in the long run. If you have discussions and you try to look at each other through their opposing eyes understanding, the conflict is going to be resolved for a much longer period of time than just beating him in a duel. And I also love the role reversal of Aquaman's parents. How many times have you watched an action movie or a war movie where the wife, where the woman needs to stay behind and take care of the child, take care of the home, waiting for their man, their husband, to come back from war? It's basically in every war and action movie that I can think of. I can't think of one where the roles are reversed, where the woman goes off to fight and the man stays behind and he's taking care of the kid. He's taking care of the home. That's what this movie does. It's one of the first things that I noticed about this movie, and I loved it. I respect, and I love the role reversal. I love it. I think there's so much to love about this movie. The visual effects, the whole role reversal, the use of feminine qualities to resolve conflict in this movie. I love it. The story, though, it's very simple, and there are some very silly things in here. Some lines of dialogue where they are not delivered the best, particularly from Amber Heard, and also the child actors of Jason Momoa. They were cast just for appearances only. Stop lying to me! Why don't you take me to see my mother? Did she not love me? That's how those words came out of those kids' mouth. But I think this film is overall a very enjoyable time. It's a movie that I keep going back to. I watched it a couple of months ago just because randomly I was thinking, you know what? I want to watch Aquaman. Let's check it out. It's one of those great good time action films just to put on when there's nothing else on or when you just need a good old simple story to sink your teeth into. I'm going to give Aquaman 4 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I like it a lot.
Alright everyone, now comes my favorite part of my video is where I pick which movie I'm going to be watching next, and the one I want to talk about in the DCEU before the whole Zack Snyder's Justice League film is released on HBO Max is a little movie that came out last year by the name of Birds of Prey, and the emancipation of one Harley Quinn. I believe that's the subtitle. I might have left out a couple of words, but I'll get it right for the actual review. I want to talk about this movie because it's the last movie that I saw in theaters before this whole global pandemic COVID shutdown thing happened, at least in this country. They were good times going to the movies. It's not going to happen anytime soon. Probably not even this year at all. By earliest, it would be next year, and that's Again, that's probably even pushing it. So we'll check out the lovely Birds of Prey next time. If any of you have recommendations of films that you want me to review on here, you can leave a recommendation below this video, or go to my Facebook page, my Instagram, or my Twitter, leave your recommendation there, and if I have access to it, I will watch, review it, and give you a shout on the channel. And if you want me to do your recommendation as quickly as I possibly can and bypass the whole random generator that I have here, you can make a PayPal donation on the main page of my YouTube channel. Any size donation will do, just attach your movie with the donation, and if I have access to it, I will watch it and publish my review of it as quickly as I possibly can. So guys, have you seen Aquaman? What did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across it because of this video, then comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell so you'll know the next time I release my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time with my review of Birds of Prey and Harley Quinn. So in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.